In the quiet community of Southport, a day of joy turned into a nightmare. This is the story of a tragic attack that left 3 children dead and a community forever changed. Join us as we uncover the events of that fateful day and the aftermath that followed. It was a typical Monday morning in the Banks area of Southport, a quiet suburban community where neighbours knew each other by name and children played freely in the streets. On Hooley Lane, residents were starting their day, unaware that in just a few hours, their peaceful lives would be shattered by an unspeakable act of violence. The sun was shining, and the air was filled with the sounds of morning routines, car engines starting, birds chirping, and the occasional greeting between neighbours. Among the residents was a 17-year-old boy, known to his neighbours as a quiet, church-going choir boy. His family had lived in the area for years, participating in local events and maintaining a low profile. Despite his unassuming demeanour, there was a darkness brewing within him, unnoticed by those around him. At 11:11 a.m, CCTV footage captured a masked figure walking down the street, dressed in a green hoodie with the hood up and a face mask obscuring their identity. The figure's head was down, and their movements were calm and deliberate. The footage, obtained by CCTV, showed the individual glancing into a window before disappearing from view. This eerie sight would soon become significant in the investigation of the horrific events that were about to unfold. The masked individual was seen again at 11:16 a.m, this time with their hand in their pocket, walking back past the same houses on Hooley Lane. The calmness of their demeanour was chilling, a stark contrast to the chaos that was about to erupt. Residents who saw the footage later would recall feeling a shiver down their spines, knowing what happened next. Just a minute later, screams of terror filled the air as a knife-wielding attacker stormed into a community centre on Hart Street. Inside, children were participating in a Taylor Swift dance event, their laughter and music abruptly replaced by cries for help. The attacker, driven by an unknown rage, began indiscriminately stabbing those in his path. 3 young lives were tragically cut short: 6-year-old BB King, 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe, and 9-year-old Alice Da Silva Aguirre. Their futures, once filled with promise and dreams, were cruelly stolen. Several others, including 5 children and 2 adults, were critically injured and rushed to nearby hospitals, where they would fight for their lives. The attack left the community in a state of shock and grief. News of the tragedy spread quickly, and the names of the victims became etched into the collective memory of Southport. BB, Elsie, and Alice were remembered for their vibrant spirits and the joy they brought to those around them. Their families were plunged into unimaginable sorrow, grappling with the senseless loss of their beloved children. Merseyside police quickly launched an investigation, focusing on the masked individual captured in the CCTV footage. It wasn't long before they arrested the 17-year-old boy, linking him to the horrific events. The community was stunned. How could someone they knew, someone so seemingly ordinary, commit such an atrocity? Neighbours shared their recollections of the boy and his family. One neighbour, who wished to remain anonymous, described the family as quiet and heavily involved in their local church. The boy, they said, was often heard singing but rarely seen outside. the revelation of his alleged involvement in the attack was a massive shock, shaking the foundation of the community's sense of safety. As the investigation continued, authorities and the public sought to understand what could have driven the young attacker to commit such a heinous act. The boy's background, his family life, and any potential warning signs were scrutinized in an attempt to piece together the puzzle of his motives. Friends and acquaintances described him as a quiet, introverted individual who rarely caused trouble. His involvement in the church choir painted a picture of a young man who seemed to be on a positive path. However, as investigators delved deeper, they discovered a history of mental health issues that had gone largely unaddressed. The attacker's family was in a state of disbelief, struggling to reconcile the image of their son with the actions he was accused of. They cooperated fully with the investigation, hoping to uncover any explanations for his behaviour. The community's support for the grieving families was unwavering, but there was also a palpable sense of fear and confusion. The arrest of the 17-year-old boy marked the beginning of a lengthy legal process. He was charged with multiple counts of murder and attempted murder, and the case quickly became a focal point for both the local community and the national media. The courtroom was packed with journalists, legal experts, and members of the public, all eager to see justice served. The prosecution built a case around the evidence captured on CCTV, witness testimonies, and forensic analysis. They argued that the attack was premeditated, citing the boy's calm demeanour and the way he had concealed his identity with a mask and hoodie. The defence, meanwhile, focused on the boy's mental health, arguing that he was not fully aware of his actions at the time of the attack. As the trial progressed, the families of the victims attended every session, their presence a stark reminder of the human cost of the tragedy. Their impact statements were heart-wrenching, painting vivid pictures of the lives that had been lost and the futures that had been stolen. The courtroom was often filled with tears and heavy silence as they spoke. In the wake of the attack, the community of Southport rallied together to support the victims' families and each other. Vigils were held in memory of B.E.B., Elsie, and Alice, with hundreds of people gathering to pay their respects and show solidarity. The Eloacal Church, where the attacker had once sung in the choir, became a focal point for mourning and healing. Community leaders and activists called for increased mental health resources and better support systems for young people. The tragedy had highlighted the gaps in the existing system, and there was a strong desire to prevent similar incidents in the future. Fundraisers were organised to help cover the medical expenses of the injured and to support the families of the deceased. The media coverage of the attack and the subsequent trial brought national attention to Southport. While some resented the intrusion, others saw it as an opportunity to raise awareness about the issues that had contributed to the tragedy. The story of the attack became a catalyst for change, inspiring efforts to create a safer, more supportive community. The trial of the 17-year-old boy was a lengthy and emotionally charged process. The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing the events of the day and the evidence that linked the boy to the attack. They emphasised the brutality of the act and the need for justice for the victims and their families. The defence, on the other hand, focused on the boy's mental state, arguing that he was not fully responsible for his actions. They presented expert testimony about his history of mental health issues and the impact of his troubled upbringing. The defence's argument was that the boy needed treatment rather than punishment. The jury was faced with a difficult decision, weighing the need for justice against the complexities of the boy's mental health. The courtroom was often tense, with emotions running high on both sides. The families of the victims watched intently, hoping for a verdict that would bring them some measure of closure. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. The 17-year-old boy was found guilty of multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 30 years. The decision was met with a mix of relief and sorrow from the victims' families. While the sentence brought some measure of justices, it could never truly compensate for the loss of Bibi, Elsie, and Alice. Their families continued to grieve, their lives forever changed by the events of that fateful day. The community, too, was left to grapple with the aftermath, working to heal and move forward. In the years that followed, Southport remained vigilant, striving to prevent similar tragedies. The attack had left an indelible mark on the community, but it had also sparked a determination to create a safer, more supportive environment for all. The memories of Bibi, Elsie, and Alice lived on, inspiring efforts to make Southport a place where such a tragedy could never happen again. The journey of healing for the victims' families was long and difficult. They found solace in their community and in each other, forming a bond through their shared grief. Support groups and counselling services became crucial lifelines, helping them navigate the complex emotions that followed the tragedy. The attack also galvanised efforts to improve mental health resources and support systems for young people. Advocacy groups worked tirelessly to raise awareness and push for policy changes, inspired by the desire to prevent similar incidents. The tragedy had exposed the gaps in the existing system, and there was a collective determination to address them. The legacy of Bibi, Elsie, and Alice became a driving force for change. Their names were associated with numerous initiatives aimed at creating a safer, more compassionate community. Schools, community centres, and local organisations all played a role in these efforts, united by a common goal. Years after the attack, the community of Southport continued to honour the memory of Bibi, Elsie, and Alice. Their lives, though tragically cut short, had inspired a wave of positive change. The community had grown stronger, more resilient, and more aware of the importance of mental health and support systems. For the victims' families, the pain of their loss remained, but so did the love and inspiration their children had brought into their lives. The initiatives launched in their names had made a tangible impact, helping to create a safer and more supportive environment in Southport. The attacker, serving his sentence, received the mental health treatment he had needed all along. His case became a cautionary tale about the importance of addressing mental health issues before they lead to tragedy. While he would never be able to undo the harm he had caused, his story served as a reminder of the need for compassion and understanding in dealing with troubled individuals. As the community of Southport moved forward, they did so with a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced a devastating tragedy, but they had also found strength in each other and in the memory of those they had lost. Their journey was one of healing and hope, a testament to the enduring power of community and the human spirit. The memory of Bibi, Elsie, and Alice continues to inspire change and resilience. Their story is a reminder of the strength found in community and the enduring power of love. Together, we can work towards a safer, more compassionate world. Thank you for watching.